In today's video, we're going to react to Dane Brugler's most recent NFL mock draft. In my opinion, he's the best draft analyst in the game, and I'm excited to talk about the mock draft. But first, I want to get the thoughts out there from all of the real ones. Who do you want the Giants to draft? Because I care about your opinion a little bit more. So let me know. Who do you want the Giants to draft in the 2024 NFL Draft? Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. As of now, the New York Giants are slotted to pick number 6 in the NFL Draft coming up this spring. Most recently, a couple of weeks ago, they were slotted to pick 2. Then they fell to 5. And now, after the win last week, they're slotted to pick 6. Here is what the top 5 draft order looks like. You got the Chicago Bears picking number 1 overall, but that pick comes from the Carolina Panthers. Then you go to the Arizona Cardinals at 2 and 10, Patriots at 2 and 9, Bears at 4 and 8, and Commanders at 4 and 8. The Giants, they are also 4 and 8. So a lot of things could change from now until April, and a lot of that is going to depend on what the Giants do in the remaining schedule that they have. You're going to play the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football after you come back from that bye week. Then you get to go to New Orleans and play the Saints. Then you got the Eagles in Week 16 and Week 18. And then in Week 17, you get to play the Los Angeles Rams. I'd be lying to you if I said the Giants were going to lose all of these games. I think the Giants could beat the Packers. I think they could beat the Saints. I think they could beat the Rams. We'll see what happens in Week 18 if Philly ends up playing their starters or not. You look at the first 4 picks in the NFL Draft. Caleb Williams, he went number 1 to the Chicago Bears. Then Marvin Harrison Jr. went number 2 to the Arizona Cardinals. Drake May, in my opinion, potentially the number 1 quarterback in this draft, he slides to number 3, and the New England Patriots pick him. And then Joe Alt, the offensive tackle, goes to Chicago at number 4. And then you see Fashanu, my guy out of Penn State, Olu Fashanu, the very talented tackle, go number 5. Those are all really good 5 players. And I like all 5 of those guys, and that's why the Giants are somewhat in a little sticky situation, because they could go multiple ways with this pick. 2 of the top quarterbacks are already gone, but a guy like Jaden Daniels is still there. There's still some really good playmakers on this team. You look at Dallas Turner on the defensive side. He can come off the edge. J.C. Latham, the offensive lineman. Maybe you want to replace Evan Neal. Brock Bowers. When you talk about what the Giants need, they need playmakers, and that's exactly what Brock Bowers is. And you look at a guy like Malik Neighbors, who is quickly climbing up draft boards, and a lot of people think he's now wide receiver too. Do you go quarterback? Do you go playmaker, edge rusher, or offensive tackle? Well, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he selected the big play wide receiver Malik Neighbors out of LSU at pick number 6 for the New York Football Giants. Let's just go right to what Dane had to say about it. I'll share what I have to say in a second. Dane says, quote, "Over the past month, I think Neighbors separated himself for several teams as wide receiver 2 in this draft class. The only FBS pass catcher with 15-plus 100 receiving yards in 2023. He also leads the country with 34 receptions of 20-plus yards. The only other college receiver with that many explosive catches over the last 5 years, another LSU receiver, Jamar Chase, who had 34 in 2019. The Giants obviously still have high hopes for Jalin Hyatt, who they drafted in round 3 of last year, and Wan'Dale Robinson, who they drafted in round 2 of 2022. But adding Neighbors gives the offense a legitimate number 1 threat. I'll ask you right now to grade the pick of Malik Neighbors. I'll give you my grade, and we'll do a little bit of scouting profile coming up next. A, B, C, D, or F. Next, my grade for this pick. I understand why you made the pick. I'm actually a fan of it. And we'll go into an in-depth scouting profile of Malik Neighbors so you can get familiar with the prospect. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Factor. When you go to factormeals.com/GiantsChat50, you're going to get 50% off your order. That link and promo code will be clickable down in the comments and description of this video. This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all your holiday to-dos. When you're too busy running around to plan lunch, Factor has you covered with lunch to go. Effortless, wholesome meals like grain bowls and salad toppers that are ready to eat when you're on the go and no microwave required. With Factor, you can rest assured you're making a sustainable choice. We offset 100% of our delivery emissions and source 100% renewable electricity for our production sites and offices. Head to factormeals.com/GiantsChat50 and use code GiantsChat50 to get 50% off. That's code GiantsChat50 at factormeals.com/GiantsChat50 to get 50% off. I'll put the link and the promo code down in the chat. If you live a busy lifestyle like me and you don't always know where your next meal is coming from, you're going to love Factor. Get hooked up with them. Just want to give them a huge shout out once again for sponsoring today's Giants Now episode. Alrighty, my grade for this pick for Dane Brugler selecting Malik Neighbors to the New York Giants at pick number 6, I'm going to give it a B. I really, really like the player of Malik Neighbors, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm giving it a B because I dislike it. One, it fits it fits a need of this team. You need more playmakers. Thing is, the Giants have a lot of holes to fill, and Neighbors would do that at the wide receiver position. He's a guy that can line up on the outside. He can line up in the slot. He can take the top off the defense. And when he's got the ball in his hands, he's a threat to go the distance every single time. And I would be lying if I said the Giants did not need more playmakers. They obviously do. They're almost last in every single offensive statistic in the 2023 season. A lot of reasons for that, though, right? You're on your third quarterback. You've had 15 different offensive line combinations. And overall, you're just not that talented of a group. Is Malik Neighbors the right pick? We'll talk about that more. Look at what he's done, though, the last 2 years at LSU. The 6-foot, 190-pound wide receiver in 2022 had 72 receptions for just over 1,000 yards, and he's a big play threat guy. We talked about that. 14.1 yards per catch. Just 3 TDs last year, but he improved that to 14 TDs this year. He improved in every statistical category going from 2022 to 2023. The one issue I do have with Neighbors, got a little bit of a drop issue. 4 drops in 2022, 6 drops in 2023. Look, I'm not saying he's got Darius Slayton hands, but I would say I'd be lying if I wasn't a little bit concerned about it. A thing that I love about him, and I know that Joe Schoen will love about him, is he is, quote-unquote, a generator with the football in his hands. In 2022, he had 418 yards after catch. He bumped those rookie numbers up to 580 yards this year. He's kind of like that one guy that went to LSU, and he had like a yellow mohawk. I think he wore number 13 and played for the Giants. He's got that kind of ability with the ball in his hands. But my pro cop for Malik Neighbors is Stephon Diggs. The dude can run every single route on the route tree. He just has that type of wiggle when you watch him on screen. He is an elite player. I also see a little bit of scary Terry McLaurin in his game. Tom Downey, our draft expert here at Chat Sports, he said maybe even he's the next Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know if he's as explosive as OBJ, but I do think Malik Neighbors is going to walk into this league and be a stud from day one. You look at the picks that came after Neighbors. You talk about a guy like Jaden Daniels. You guys know I'm a big fan of his, and you know that I'm done with Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback for the Giants. Then a huge playmaker going to the other team in New York, Brock Bowers. He's heading to Gang Green. Then you see J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle. He's going to go to the Los Angeles Chargers. Dallas Turner goes number 10. Big fan of his work, and I am of the belief you can never have too many guys that can get after the passer. Nate Wiggins, really impressed by what I've seen him put on film as of late, the corner out of Clemson. And then Keon Coleman, the 6'4" wide receiver out of Florida State. I know a lot of people want a big, tall, fast wide receiver on the outside. You might like Keon Coleman a little bit more than Malik Neighbors. I like the Neighbors pick. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But I will make this abundantly clear. In this situation, if the Giants were to end up picking 6 in the NFL draft, and you saw the guys that went before him, before the Giants were on the clock, and Jaden Daniels was there at pick number 6, I would draft him, and then I would run. Will you look at what he's done in his career at LSU? My favorite thing about this graphic on screen is look at the astronomical leap he took from 2022 to 2023. The completion percentage jumps up almost 5 points, almost 1,000 more passing yards, almost tripled his passing touchdowns, and he kept his interceptions extremely low. Favorite thing right here, though, yards per attempt. A lot of people thought he was a dink and dunk type of quarterback last year for the Tigers. 7.5 yards per attempt. That displays that. But that's up to 11.7 in 2023. And he's an elite runner of the football. Almost 1,200 rushing yards this year and 10 touchdowns. I'm just going to say it. Jaden Daniels reminds me of Lamar Jackson. He just absolutely does. A tall, skinny, thin, uber athletic, uber talented quarterback that if he goes to the right situation and he gets hooked up with the right offensive coordinator and a general manager builds a team around him that would make him the most effective quarterback he could, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a stud. I think Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll might just agree. I'll ask you this question, and then we'll bounce on out of here. Should the Giants draft a quarterback in round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft? Hot topic. I'm typing my Y for yes. I want to hear from you, though. Type Y for yes and for no. As always, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for tuning in to Giants Now by Chat Sports. We're going to continue to do more and more draft content as we get closer and closer to the NFL offseason. Giants are in a weird spot. They right now are 2 games out of the playoff picture, but they're also competing for a top 5 pick. What a year it has been in 2023 for the NFL. If you want to continue the conversation about this mock draft, give me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. And you know what? I guess we'll see you later on the next episode of Giants Now by Chat Sports.